Hi, and welcome to a tutorial on how to do quality assurance in Solibri. In the File tab, we will go to the Rule Set Manager. Here's where we create our rules. We have a lot of existing rules that Solibri has made that we're going to use then to make our own rules. So there is a lot of them, as you can see. Some concerning accessibility, architectural ones, MEP ones, structural ones. This is the workspace. Here is where we create our own custom rules. And how we do this is first by creating a rule set. A rule set is just a list of rules. So clicking on this button, we can create our own rule set. In the panels in the corner, we can write more information about it, while this bottom panel is used for defining rules. We're going to get to that later. Here you can set the name of the rule set. You can lock the rule set so other people cannot edit it. You can set a description for a rule set, and you can also put in an author for the rule set, and so on and so on. So when we create rules, we need to look into the existing rules of Solibri and use the existing rules as a template. So for an example, I'm going to take a clash detection rule. I'm going to drag it, drop it on my rule set, and now we have our own rule. Of course, I'm going to tweak this rule a bit to fit my project specifically. So you can do this here in the parameters panel. You will see later on that different rules have different definitions. So when we're talking about clash detection, Solibri works by checking components 2 by 2 and then seeing if there's any intersections. In this panel is where we can then define which components we want Solibri to be checking. I will be deleting the ones that Solibri has set because I want to set new ones. So I add a new row, and here you can see that I can even change property, which means that I can define more parameters that I want the components to contain. So for example, not only do I want Solibri to check all of the pipes, but I want it to check all of the pipes that are a certain dimension. So here you can specify dimension, location, different property sets that you have extracted from Revit. You can even define relations to other elements. There's a lot of possibilities. In this case, I'm not going to define any properties. I'm just going to leave it as it is. I'm going to do the same thing on the other component. But we can also see that there is a component column, and here is the categorization that Solibri uses. So in my model, I only have MEP families, so this is why it looks like this, but it would be looking very different if it was a architectural or structural one. And here I selected that I want to check only the clash detection between pipes. For now, we have only used an include state, but you can actually add a row and put exclude if you want to exclude certain components. For an example, pipes of a bigger diameter or something similar. You can also check a duplicate sign that is going to check for components that are completely overlapping. You can also define intersection tolerances. Maybe not for this rule. I'm going to put randomly 5 millimeters to define how much Solibri can tolerate before detecting it as an error. You can also define exceptions. So especially when we're talking about pipes going through walls or roofs or slabs, sometimes we don't want Solibri to detect it because it's intentional. In the last corner, we have an ignore window for Solibri to ignore components that are in the same system and overlapping. If we look more in the rule set folders, we can try to find another rule that can be beneficial for a project. So I'm going to go to BIM validation and do clearance in front of doors. You would think, why do we need clearance in front of doors for an MEP file? But this is a good example of using a rule for a different purpose because it's a good template. So we're going to rename the name first, and we're going to see the component. We're going to delete these checked components because that's not what we're aiming for. If you look down here, you can see a representation of how the rule is actually working. So Solibri imagines a cube in front of a component with the dimensions that you can set, and then it checks if other components are in this cube to know if you do have this clearance or not. So you can define all of the dimensions of the cube, whatever is necessary, and you can already see that it can be used for other purposes, not exclusively a door. So in my case, I'm gonna put it as an object. Objects are mechanical equipment, tanks, and different things. I'm thinking about defining the name. So I don't want all of the objects. I just want the ones whose name contains a chemiscape. So obviously I'm thinking of a specific family that has been exported, and I just want to check them. So now that I have defined this, I can also remove this doors just so we know that it's not doors anymore. And this rule is perfectly ready to use. We are now going to save this rule set anywhere on our desktop, on our drive. And now we're going to have to load it back in to Solibri. We go to our checking tab. So we were now at the rule set, but we're going now to the checking tab. And immediately we get this pop-up of let's load some rule sets. And now we find the rule set that we made, load it in. And just to see the model here, the rule set is now ready to be run. So we just need to click on this check model. And there we go, it's done in a second. Now these triangles are representing the severity of each of these rules. And this is something actually that you can define in the rule set manager. So we can see that the intersections one has some red ones and some orange ones. But the clearance in front of the chemiscape is a bit better. So here we can align all of our rules. Solibri makes its own hierarchy of these rules. So let's maybe take a look at one of them. If we click there on the zoom in, we see that Solibri has detected that these two pipes are intersecting each other. We can do another example. Again, zoom in on component. Here we have maybe a clearer view of two pipes intersecting each other. Solibri offers a nice overview of all of these issues in this list. But let's take a look at the other rule. Okay, we can see that there is only one issue. So if we click on it and then zoom in, we can see the component that's being checked, that's one in the middle. And Solibri actually illustrates these cubes that we have talked about in the definition of the rule. So you can see which components are entering this clearance zone made by Solibri. And we can see that it's these two tanks, I presume. I will just zoom in nicely so we have a nice view of it. So in the result summary, we can also get an overview of how severe all of the issues are. As I mentioned, this can be changed in the rule set manager to strictly define the severity. Now that we have located these problems in the model, we can start creating issues. So we right-click on the problem, add slide, and here we can fill out many details about the issue. Issues are just a way of managing all of the problems that we find by conducting a quality check on our models. We can put in a description. We can put if it's rejected or accepted, if the status is open. We can put a due date. We can place labels or specific people on this task. A lot of that can be defined. But now that we created, we just close the tab. It's already saved. And we can do the same thing for the other issue that we had, with the intersecting pipes. So once again, zoom in on the issue because it takes a screenshot of the 3D panel. Add slide. And now that we have filled out all of those details, we can go into the communication part. Here I will click to make a new presentation. And the thing about presentations in Solibri is that we can choose whether it's going to be from a BCF file, Excel file, or from the checking results that we got from our quality control. And that's exactly what I clicked, which means that Solibri just created a presentation and took all of the issues that I have documented, which were only those two, and put them in a presentation. And this is how it looks like. So it gives you a lot of information that you can then eventually print out into a report